Northern Colorado already spoiled Idaho's homecoming. Can they spoil their second in a row when they head to Sacramento on Saturday? Welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football. Hello and welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. We are already more than halfway through the regular season. However, there's still plenty to be decided these final 6 weeks, especially with our two teams featured in our game of the week, Northern Colorado and Sacramento State. The Bears are currently 4th in the Big Sky standings and the Hornets right behind them in 5th. Both teams coming off their first conference win of the season, both teams 3-3. Which team will get their second win in the Big Sky on Saturday? Brandon Marion hopes it's his Hornets. Coach, just past the halfway point of this season, at this point, what would you say is the identity of your team?
Yeah, I think our team has done a really good job on establishing the run game up front. K. Rich and the O-line have done a really good job of, being able to communicate the calls and give us a chance to really win games by running the football. And then our quarterback being able to help us within the run game. Cardell has done a good job of, extending plays with his legs and making the defense account for him as well. So defensively, obviously we're, one of the top teams, maybe the top team when it comes to getting after the quarterback and affecting the quarterback. And you can see, when we're able to rush and create negative plays and TFLs, I think we've done a really good job with that.
Coach, you mentioned the success of your run game. 3 players ran for over 100 yards for the first time in school history in your win over Weber State. What allowed you to have so much success on the ground?
Yeah, I think the key thing for us in that game was 100% ball security. I think every game that we've taken care of the ball, we've won. I told our players that it rains on both teams and we have to take care of the ball. We were able to do that in that game. And then, guys were just explosive when they got their opportunity. It wasn't so much about counting their reps. It was about making the reps count. So, and our O-line just did a really good job all night long of opening holes. And our guys did a good job of making those plays and making a guy miss and breaking a tackle and guys blocking on the perimeter, running guys off. I thought we just did a really good job of playing as a unit for 60 minutes together.
Rodney Hammond Jr. was the special teams player of the week after his incredible performance, 262 all-purpose yards, including a 99-yard kick return touchdown. What does play like that on special teams, or what spark does play like that on special teams provide to your entire team?
Yeah, I think we just finally put the scheme in place that Rodney's most comfortable running back there. He was able to hit it at the right time. He broke a tackle, split it, and it was a really big play. But the thing I'm most proud about with Rodney is he came here on a mission, get Sac State back to its winning ways that it was, previously. He had a players only meeting and told the guys what needs to be done. He's made sure every day that the locker room is clean, that all the little things that the players have to control for us to be a really good program and lead. He's done that and held our guys accountable to that standard.
Looking ahead to this weekend, you host Northern Colorado for homecoming. The Bears coming off a major upset win over Idaho, putting up nearly 500 yards of total offense. What will be the key to slowing them down on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they do a really good job schematically with getting their playmakers the ball in space. Number 1 and number 3 are dynamic on the outside. The quarterback did a really good job of getting them the ball. I think their running backs run really hard, and then their O-line does a good job of, not giving up sacks and making sure that there's lanes for the runners to run in the run game. And then defensively, they just do a good job of playing solid defense, not trying to overdo it or, be over aggressive. They're more so of making sure that bend don't break operation from the standpoint of they're going to make sure that guys are covered up. They're not just going to let guys run free down the field, and then they're going to do everything that they can to stop the run. And then number 13 is a special player back there at safety. I know, Coach, we're both in the same situation right now. We're both 500 football teams fighting for our lives and fighting for relevance to turn our programs around. So it'll be a great matchup.
You mentioned number 13, of course, that is Cam Chapa, Defensive Player of the Week this week after his performance. What do you need to do offensively to limit the impact he can have on your game plan?
We need to do what we do really well, and we need to take care of the football. It's so much about offensive football is about execution and taking care of the ball. It really doesn't have much to do with the other team as much as you would think. It's more so of not messing it up on offense and putting yourself in a position to be successful. So we have to do a good job of blocking out the noise, focusing on the ball, and then, being physical, violent up front and making plays on the perimeter when our numbers call.
Head coach of the Stats Perform FCS National Team of the Week, Ed Lamb, joins us after the break. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. Northern Colorado was coming off one of the biggest wins in program history. They were named the Stats Perform FCS National Team of the Week after upsetting Idaho, and the Bears have continued to find success under third-year head coach Ed Lamb. Coach, you are coming off one of the biggest wins in program history. Your Bears were named the Stats Perform FCS National Team of the Week. What do you attribute to your team's success so far this season?
Their belief in each other. The sideline was fantastic the whole game. There was never any doubt. It was one of the first games of the season where we got to start out on offense, and the offense marched it down very efficiently. Defense got up off the bench, and it just kind of started momentum that lasted the whole game.
How hard is it to keep that momentum from opening drive until the final whistle?
It's been really difficult for us, primarily because just end of game success has been so elusive for us. And we had a plan as a coaching staff. And really, I would say as a university, we felt like the only way to build this program was by being foundationally based in freshman recruiting. And even more than that, local Colorado freshman recruiting. And so it's taken some time. I always was confident that we would get there, we would get competitive. And I expected that to be sooner. I had never wavered in my belief in the long-term ability of these players to develop into Big Sky caliber competitive players. So it has been very hard to get over that hump and to find ourselves in so many close games over the last couple of years, and then having the opponent consistently pull away, and we end up with the same losing feeling.
You mentioned recruiting freshman homegrown talent. A perfect example of that is, of course, Cam Chapa, Defensive Player of the Week this week for the Big Sky. He's only a sophomore. He's a local guy. How often do you see a player that young have such an impact on his team so soon?
For us, it's been very often. We've had freshman offensive linemen that are now veterans, Colorado kids. Carver Cheeks started. He was playing safety, but he started at safety his freshman year, and now he's at receiver and making plays. Our top three receivers in that game and for the whole season have been Colorado kids. For us, it's not that rare that freshmen have started, but they've taken their lumps, and it's so rewarding to see them now be in a position where they can compete together and they have confidence in each other.
You're talking about some of the guys on offense. Offensively, you racked up nearly 500 total yards in your win over Idaho. Why were you able to get the ball moving so quickly down the field?
Well, I think it just started with being able to connect on the vertical passing game. The first play of the game was a fly sweep or a give, and that kind of stretched the defense horizontally and maybe slowed down the pass rush. On the second play, we were able to get the ball up to Carver, and Carver had a nice vertical completion. And then from that point forward, we felt like we had the defense a little bit stretched horizontally and vertically, and it opened up some of the run game. Really, for the rest of the game, we had efficiency in the run game, which has been elusive for us as well. In fact, the moment where really I thought the whole team caught fire was Eric Gibson took off on a scramble about the fifth or sixth play of that drive, and lowered his head, got the first down. And I thought that inspired the boys on defense, and they knew we might have a long game and a lot of snaps to play, but they were willing to fight to the end.
Looking ahead to this week, heading to Sacramento State for their homecoming, their defense leads the Big Sky in sacks. However, your offensive line is second in least sacks allowed. What's the key to winning that battle in the trenches and protecting your quarterback?
Well, it all starts offensively and defensively with the line of scrimmage. And so we've got to do a great job of blocking a very capable defensive line. Sac State's aggressive on defense with their technique and with their scheme, and they have really good players that are fast along that front, especially. So yeah, they're going to test us in every way. We've got to find a way to stay in front of them with our offensive line. We've got to find a way to get the ball out on time at the quarterback position.
Sac State had 3 players each rush for over 100 yards in their win over Weber State. How do you slow down their ground game?
The big plays have really been the most impressive part of watching them on film. They also have such variety in their run game. They give it to a lot of different backs. As you mentioned, the quarterback can keep it and add that +1 in the run game. So, and then they have the ability to get the ball down the field. And so kind of like I was talking about where last game against Idaho, we were able to stretch the defense in all directions. Sac State does that really well. They do it consistently. And so we've got to somehow spread out, keep eyes where they need to be, and quickly corral the football and get as many guys as we can to the point of attack.
Still to come, Samuel Batu's journey from growing up in Liberia to playing college football. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. UC Davis wide receiver Samuel Batu Jr. currently leads the Aggies in receiving yards. He's also second in the Big Sky in receiving touchdowns. With stats like that, it's hard to believe he's only been playing football for 7 years, and he learned while living in Japan. Batu told me his upbringing taught him adaptability and discipline. Combine that with his love of sport, and you find his recipe for success.
Sam's had to go through a lot in his life. For him to get to UC Davis, even just to get to college, speaks to just who he is as a person. So I think what makes Sam unique is just he knows what he's come from. And so every day to him is a blessing.
Just being in uncomfortable situations throughout my life. So my upbringing helped me in a way that I'm able to adapt to a lot of different situations.
Samuel Batu has been adapting his whole life. Born in Liberia, he was 11 years old when he moved to the United States.
My dad was in the military, is still in the military. So when I moved to Washington, D.C., he had told us that 6 months later, we're going to be moving to Okinawa, Japan.
Camp Foster, to be exact. It was at that Marine base he learned to play American football.
I didn't start playing football until I was freshman year of high school in Okinawa, Japan. Yeah, that was very interesting, very small team. Yeah, just trying to learn the ropes.
Why do you think you were able to excel so quickly in the sport?
Whatever I do, whatever it is, I want to be the best at it. And I would say just putting in that work, wanting to get better, wanting to learn, be a sponge, taking in as much information as possible from anybody.
If you see his athleticism and his attention to detail, his discipline, these are all things that can lead to good football players. So, not surprised that he gets out there and falls in love with a game like that, and then he ends up being really talented.
Batu and his family spent 5 years in Japan. They relocated to Temecula, California his sophomore year of high school, where he continued his football career and was introduced to the world of recruiting.
Playing football my sophomore year in the U.S., I didn't really understand the whole process of recruiting. So I was generally just playing the game just to learn it, just to get better for the love of it. Until after I find out my sophomore year, I saw the seniors class going to colleges, getting offers and stuff. So I started asking my coaches about it.
The stories that I've heard was that, yeah, it was like pulling teeth. It was, no, this isn't, you need to answer this phone call, you need to go on this. I mean, there's just zero knowledge of what it was.
So, after that, I got my Twitter. Talked to my coaches again, we, created a film for me, my sophomore film, sophomore playing on varsity.
It was not a cut and dry process, but Sam really wanted to go. Sam really wanted to go somewhere different and see how far he could take it.
After receiving offers from schools like Air Force and Yale, Batu committed to UC Davis, where he started his career as the Aggie Scout Team Player of the Year and has evolved into one of the top receivers in the conference. He's hoping to end his senior season with a new school record and new hardware for the trophy case.
I did had a conversation with Coach Plow. We were trying to get the reception record at the school, so that's the only thing I've really been thinking about. But other than that, just win the Big Sky and win the national championship.
Will throw, lobs it down the field to a wide open Batu. In stride, catches it. One man to beat. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown UC Davis.
What's the best part about coaching a player like him?
I think just how much he appreciates the coaching and how much he wakes up every day and finds joy because of the journey he's had to go through, the gratitude that he wakes up with every day. That's something I really hope that a lot of other players see, and even my own sons see, that someone can be grateful every day. They're just grateful for what they have and they work really hard, and I think Sam has that.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. The FCS Playoff Committee released their first top 10 rankings of the season on Wednesday. Who better to join us to talk about this release than FCS insider Craig Haley. Craig, I'll get right to it. What surprised you the most about the committee's first top 10?
Well, I'm going to admit I'm not too surprised because I actually had the correct order 1 through 10, and I'm not doing that to toot my own horn. I'm saying it that I feel like if you looked at it closely, I think they went by strength of schedule. They factor in results. They factor in many things. But I do feel like it kind of went the way I foresaw it. And it was great to see, 3 straight in a row Big Sky schools.
Why do you think the committee gave a 2-loss Montana State team a higher seed than an undefeated Montana team?
I think Montana State gets the nod over Montana for a couple reasons. The schedule and obviously playing Oregon and South Dakota State down to the wire in that matchup. But, you win big on the road at Northern Arizona. That's just quality. I also think maybe there's a little bit of a lasting impression going into these rankings of 2 weeks ago, Montana, wins by 4 at Idaho State. This past week, Montana State, wins 48-14 against the same Idaho State team. So I think that, recent 2 results kind of factored in as well.
Montana State still has to play UC Davis later in November. And then the next week, they end their season playing Montana in the Brawl of the Wild. When the committee's final rankings are released, how many teams do you think will still be in that top 8 positioned for a first-round bye?
I see no reason that these 3 teams, Montana State, Montana, and UC Davis, can't be top 8, come November 23rd.
The Big Sky has 5 teams in the Stats Perform FCS top 25. Last season, it was NAU who was the surprise Big Sky playoff team. Which Big Sky team do you think has a chance to make a late season playoff push and surprise everyone again this season?
Well, the Lumberjacks, again, should make a good run here. I mean, they have a manageable schedule the rest of the way. So they should make the playoffs. Then you start looking at candidates for a 5th spot of the Big Sky. I mean, Idaho's going to have to win out at this point. And, they're the other team still ranked and had high expectations going into the season. So they have to win out. The other 2 candidates are Sacramento State and Northern Colorado. Obviously, they have to, really be strong here through the end of the regular season. They play each other this week. I kind of look at that game as sort of an in-season playoff eliminator. Whoever wins, stays on the path to a possible playoff bid, but the loser, may be out of the mix at that point.
Great segue to our game of the week game pick. UNC heading to Sacramento State. Sacramento State's homecoming, of course, Northern Colorado coming off that massive upset last week over Idaho. Coach Brennan Marion said both him and Ed Lamb are on the same path, trying to bring their teams back to relevance, get on a winning page. Who do you think wins this one?
I'm going to go with Sacramento State just because they're home. And Northern Colorado, what a job they did to go to the the Kibbe Dome and beat Idaho. They're the Stats Reform FCS National Team of the Week as a result. Just a big first half. They've had a terrific season. I mean, to be competitive with Colorado State, a game they probably should have won, and just overall, I mean, they took South Dakota to overtime. I mean, I think they've done a great job. I think it's a hard scenario to go to Idaho, come back the next week and go to a Sac State team that seems to be, putting it all together with especially on offense. I think it's a fun matchup. I'm glad to see it's the Big Sky game of the week. I do think you have to favor the Hornets being at home.
Craig, as always, appreciate your insight and talking Big Sky football. Well, Craig said it best. If UNC and Sacramento State want to stay in playoff consideration, winning on Saturday is a must. Thanks for joining me for another episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. I'll see you all next week.